the F1 Wheel Nuts podcast. This is the Purple Sector segment. And what this is, it's about a third of our regular podcast length, so that's why we're calling it the Purple Sector. What we'll look to do in the Purple Sector is talk about hot topics that are currently relevant to Formula One. Today on the Purple Sector, we want to discuss where is Daniel Ricciardo going. We see it could potentially have very large seismic shifts in the driver market for 2019, and what we all put together are possible predictions of where he can go, and we want to, as race fans, throw our predictions out there and, engage the other Formula One fans out there and see what your feelings are. So I guess everyone's put together picks. I'll get started with my picks.
Before we get started, can I just mention one thing?
Yes.
Where do you tan? Because your color on screen is amazing. I mean, you make Robert look, light.
I am naturally golden. The sun shines on me, and that's all I can say right now.
He got his initial char from Guyana. And then he's been lighting it up recently.
Okay.
All right. So that was somebody messing up a Purple Sector.
Oh, so.
Yes. So let's get started with my prediction. So these are my picks. Where do I see Daniel Ricciardo going? Right now, the biggest options for him is obviously Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes. In my opinion, I see him potentially going to Mercedes. And why I'm saying this is Sebastian Vettel is at Ferrari, and I see Daniel Ricciardo potentially being an equal to him if he goes to Ferrari. He's not going to want to be a number 2 driver. So, with that being said, I could see him going to Mercedes where he could be Lewis Hamilton's teammate. I know Lewis Hamilton, well, at least Lewis Hamilton says in the media that he doesn't want to be a number 1 driver. He wants to beat people on track. So that's one of the main reasons I see him going there. I do see Valtteri making that move from Mercedes down to Ferrari because at this time, obviously, Valtteri is not a great number 1 driver. I don't ever see him being to the caliber of the Sebastian Vettels or the Lewis Hamiltons out there, given that he was up against Lewis Hamilton. A couple other major rollbacks from that is the other big name I see moving is probably Fernando Alonso. I could see him going to Renault again for a third stint. That Renault car, as we saw in Azerbaijan, it's getting pretty good. It's getting pretty good now. Obviously, very far ahead of the McLaren. So it's almost inevitable that Fernando is going to move at the end of the season. Where does he go? I could see Renault, or maybe not in.
I personally don't think if he went to Renault, he would be a number 2 driver.
All right, so that's my opinion on it. I guess we'll move over to Robert now. Let's see what Robert's opinions are.
Well, these are my picks, and they're pretty close to some of the stuff that you picked, Chris. I do not see Ricciardo being a second driver to Vettel. So for that reason, I don't see him going to Ferrari. I think he's better off going to Mercedes. When it comes to Fernando, I don't think Fernando has an option of a higher team that he can go to. So I think he most likely would be staying at McLaren. The other parts of my pick that I think I need to call out would be Carlos Sainz. I think he would be going to Red Bull. So that's it for my picks.
I don't see Fernando going to any other. I don't see him going to Ferrari. I think he's burnt a lot of bridges at Ferrari. And I don't see Mercedes welcoming him with open arms over
I
there.
could see him going to Mercedes, actually.
But he's also burning bridges with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, but I can still see. I think it's only the only other two options I see for Alonso is Ferrari or Mercedes. So I think his best option is staying with McLaren.
Yeah, he's had some scorching words for Ferrari, so I don't think he's going back there.
No, for sure, I don't think he's going back to Ferrari. So its option would either be Mercedes or stay with McLaren. I don't see a next team that can afford him. That's the other point you got to look at. Which other team would pay Alonso? Which other team you think would pay him?
They just put Kimoa sponsorship on their cars, and that'll help them.
Uh,
Nick, what are your thoughts on it?
My picks. I have Valtteri staying at Mercedes. I think he's going to prove himself this season. He already has so far.
He has?
Yeah, I mean he's not doing bad.
Okay.
But
That just means he's not doing great. Also, I mean, that's how you're describing it.
he's on that same 1-year contract that Kimi is, isn't he? So, I have him staying. I do have Daniel going to Ferrari. How that'll work, I'm not completely sure. I did write this list up when I was really tired, so.
I do not see.
That's a disclaimer.
Yeah, that's my disclaimer. But, I do see Max staying at Red Bull. I have Gasly coming to Red Bull as a second driver. At McLaren, I put the Hulk as being there. Stoffel would stay as their number 2 driver. If you noticed, I don't have Fernando on my chart. I think he's done after the season.
You really think so?
I think he's done with F1. I think he would move to another sport for the payday.
Soccer?
More endurance.
I
But
think
they don't pay like Formula One, and
he may. I don't know. He could go over to Indy.
They won't pay him as
they
much
won't
as he
pay
makes in McLaren right now.
I don't know. I think he enjoyed winning though, or being
That's
in a
true.
car towards the front.
fair point.
I think he's. If he had to take the pay cut and go for winning, I think he'd choose winning.
Yeah.
He's already as rich as it is. Carlos and Perez at Renault. Again, I was tired. And then Romain Grosjean would be the driver number 1 at Haas, and me as his driver number 2. The chart didn't let me, select a name. I could only drop down, so I just said, you know what, I'll leave it as new driver.
The name of the team is Haas, not Oz.
Haas.
Okay.
Don't correct me. I'm trying to be their second driver.
So Marco, what do you feel the driver market is going to look like in 2019?
So for me, the media outlets has been theming with Daniel Ricciardo moving to Ferrari. I certainly don't believe that. I don't think that he's moving there, although I really would love to see him paired with Vettel, because again, 2014 was a nice year of seeing those two guys trade back and forth punches with each other's cars. But I personally believe Daniel Ricciardo is going to Mercedes. I think if he's going to trade up, that's where he needs to go. And there is a seat available at Mercedes. I think Bottas is not performing, so they need a perfect second driver. Now, I don't think Daniel is going to be a number 2 driver. I think he's going to produce, and he's going to make Mercedes kind of feel like the Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton era. So I don't see any movement in the Ferrari lineup. I believe Kimi, while not really producing as much as we want him to produce, I think he's doing what he needs to do. I think he will get better throughout the year, enough to keep him in that seat. For Red Bull, with Daniel moving to Mercedes, I'd like to see Carlos Sainz in that seat. Carlos Sainz would deny that seat initially, and I think a pairing with him and Max Verstappen would actually highlight Max's flaws even more than when Ricciardo was sitting beside him. But Carlos would also be much more driven and much more hungrier to take that seat. So I'd like to see that. So that's kind of a bias for me. I really want to see Carlos in that seat beside Max. I don't see a change in the McLaren lineup. I think they have a good drive in Stoffel. I don't think Fernando is going anywhere. Nico Hülkenberg to say at Renault. I'd like to see Sergio there. I would like to see Sergio in a little bit more competitive car. If the last race at Baku was any indicator, Renault is becoming more competitive, so I'd like to see Sergio in there. And Kevin Magnussen and Haas, I think that's a good pairing there. Grosjean is just not performing. He hasn't performed well in the past couple of races. And even last year...
He hit a wall.
Even last year, towards the end of the year, he didn't really perform well. So I'd
Then
like
he was
to see.
crying. Who cries in F1?
I'd like to see Leclerc in that seat, because Leclerc is another Ferrari driver, and they are calling this the Ferrari B team. So I'd like to see Leclerc in that seat.
So where do you see Bottas going?
Somewhere else, like
Out of F1?
I think Bottas is is good in his seat right now. I think he can do well for like a Williams. If he goes back to Williams, I think he can do well. He can probably do well in Force India. I don't see him performing in the top 3 manufacturers or constructors in Formula One.
All right. So that's our not so expert opinion, our fan opinion of where we see Daniel Ricciardo going. Obviously, some of us see massive shifts in the market, but it could potentially play out that way. With that being said, we'd like to wrap up our first Purple Sector segment. If you like what we said, follow us on social media, hit the like button, a thumbs up below, and subscribe. We'll see you again for the next Purple Sector segment.
Thank you guys for watching, and thanks our host, President Trump.